Hello everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode we're going to be checking out a piece by the career digital illustrator known as Artem Chebokha. And in this episode, I want y'all to ask yourself, what does it mean to have your head in the clouds above the abyss? So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, the lone impression that you're first going to get is this lone subject set in center right. It certainly draws the eye. It is a very striking first impression as well, as this kind of fluorescent orange instantly burns into memory. And so we do have a subject set in center, of course. It's always going to draw the eye. It kind of feels like everything revolves around that form there set in center. We also see form accented through this really brilliant light on dark contrast. Of course, that dark kind of midnight void or sea there is the perfect neutral backing for that to really emphasize itself to the highest degree possible. What you'll notice, of course, there are varying values all throughout here. Of course, a lot lighter near the ascendant region, but all in all, these are all technically a light on dark contrast, no matter the variation within that. So all in all, certainly catches the eye and very important when we're looking at this work. And so there's no doubt that light really drives the visual experience at hand, right? And of course, the lightest area of the composition is going to be right near our subject's head there. Very fluorescent, very bright, a little bit of gold tones as well, all very important. And so in the realm of color, we have this kind of orangish gold that we see, of course, a burnt orange as well in that ascendant region. And aside from that, we have this kind of almost like a bluish green gray. It's incredibly dark, so it's very hard to tell exactly what that color is. I get a little bit of blue, I get a little bit of green here, but all in all, we do see these kind of contrasting natural colors, right? If this is a blue or a green, and that's set in contrast to, say, a fluorescent orange or a red, you have fire and you have life, right? Two very important and dual kind of contrasting colors there for sure. There's no doubt that we have this kind of roiling energy throughout the work at hand, right? This is a digital illustration, so you are looking at what the artist is doing. Of course, you have all of these brush strokes. They just invigorate the composition with this incredibly vivid energy, incredibly important when we're looking at this work. And, you'll look at this, of course, it almost looks like smoke roiling or waves or anything within that, of course, that's going to invigorate the spatial composition, make the heart race a little bit as well, all very important. And so in the realm of texture, the only thing that we really get here are these really harsh tones, right? Especially near our subject's form there, you can see exactly what I mean by that sense of texture. It is almost like a kind of hatch or a cross hatch, if you will. It does give you a very rough texture and also adds to a bit of visual energy within the work at hand, of course. It's incredibly harsh. You look at this, you're not going to want to lean into this. You're going to kind of pull away. It is fluorescent, but it is harsh. It has that, dark, billowing smoke. So many different things you can really point to, but that all kind of points back to that fire, that sense of energy, and of course, that harsh aesthetic as well. I think that really works well, of course, is above the abyss right now. So these really harsh tones really match the kind of tumultuous themes of the work at hand here. So all very important when we're looking at this work. And so, the flame is a pretty interesting symbol to try and understand, right? Because the flame, of course, guides our way in the night and it, turns the night into day. But at the same time, it's the same thing that burns our burrows. So, fire is this dual element where on one hand, it can uncover, it is, the source of knowledge and things like that, uncovering things in the darkness. But aside from that, it is also a very destructive force as well. So, but regardless of that, no matter you're using the flame to uncover or whether you're using the flame to burn, there is a transformation regardless. So whenever we see the flame or any type of fluorescent light, it's almost always going to give us a sense of transformation. And so we see the composition really split into two main sections here. And this is really split across this horizontal axis, of course. You have this kind of darker and you have the light. And of course, our subject falls into the darker region, which of course accents form quite brilliantly here. And what you'll notice, of course, there is that sense of duality, right? Dark defines the light just as light defines the dark by one another's existence. So that's incredibly important when we're looking at this work. Of course, you have the abyss, and then you have what we would see maybe as the ascendant, perhaps. So placing those in contrast or juxtaposition to one another really puts that into perspective. And so we see our subject here, and if you look at our subject, you see this tension within our subject's form here, almost like fighting what's going on here. And our subject appears to be falling into this abyss. It's incredibly tumultuous. You see just the tension within the form here, all very important. And, just, I would say inches, but just seconds, maybe even already in the abyss itself, already kind of playing on both sides of that. Of course, you have the light and the dark. So if our subject is already almost completely within the abyss, what does that mean for the work at hand? And so with this in mind, what do you think we're viewing here? What do you see when you view this piece, and how do you feel when you view this piece? Those are all very important questions when we're looking at this work. And so, when I look at this, of course, we see a person with their head in the clouds above this kind of endless abyss or endless void. So you may attribute the void to something like a, bad time in life, or even death itself. The abyss can take on many different forms, that kind of metaphoric symbolism. I think that's incredibly interesting. And this is a digital illustration, so it was, painstakingly created, I believe, on a screen. Of course, it is an illustration at the very least, almost always referred to as digital paint as well. And I actually have one more piece from the original artist as well we can showcase, talk a little bit about visual energy here real quick. So I brought his work Wildfire in here to really compare it to the work that we showcased today. Of course, the work on the left, I'm actually going to be studying this in a few weeks here, so really important that I'm looking at it now, right? So what you'll look at both of these works, of course, the work on the right, the one we showcased today, a lot of the visual energy is really kind of reserved to the assessment of the spatial composition. When we compare that to this work, however, the visual energy is just all-encompassing. And of course, both works, you have that fluorescent flame, you have that incredible orange, that incredible gold colors, all trying to show the spirit of fire itself. So I think the artist really does that quite brilliantly. The artist surely seems like a master at his craft, and it's just a blessing to be able to study this today. So I wanted to bring this piece in here just to really show side by side, to show that fluorescent, fire, that energy, and that kind of roiling sense that we get in both works here. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed today. We talked about a bunch of different things. We talked about this roiling energy, even these kind of dark green or blue tones, very hard to make out here. We talked about just this incredible visual energy, of course. We talked about the accent, the subject kind of falling into this abyss here, maybe even the metaphor of what the abyss might be. So many different things that we really touched on today, so I hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all did, go check out the original artist, Artem Chebokha, doing some really good stuff, also known as RHADS or RHADS So hope y'all enjoyed today. If y'all did, go check out the original artist. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.